Welcome to LIBERATRIX, my loves. I'm so happy that you're all here. I am beaming with joy and turn on and love. Nothing makes me happier than nourishing and liberating and transforming and turning on the feminine and teaching on the feminine. So thank you for saying yes to yourself and your desire and for being here, because in that you're setting my fucking soul on fire. Over the next week, babes, we're going to have a fucking blast. Oh, and I swear a lot when I'm passionate about something, and I'm really passionate about the feminine, so it's going to happen. Okay, so today, day one, my loves, we're going to get to know each other. I'm going to set the stage. I'm going to tell you what to expect over the next 5 days. I'm going to give you some prompts so that you can dive deeper into what your intentions are, what your desires are. And I'm going to teach you about the archetype of the Liberatrix. Who is she? How to embody her. Random riffs on her. Day 2, deep as fuck, y'all. Day 2 is like when the magic really, really starts, and it starts in the Zoom call. So I highly recommend that you prioritize coming to this Zoom call live. You can have your camera on or off. It doesn't matter to me. I'd love to see your face, but if that is going to prevent you from not coming on, then just come on and leave your camera off. But for those of you who want to show me your face, hi, let's hang out and have a little slumber party. It's going to be the kind of call where at the end of the call, you're going to literally kiss the ground and be like, thank God that I came live to this call, because it's so life-changing on such a palpable level. I'm going to give you a $10,000 fucking transformation. And I know that sounds grandiose, but the thing is that I'm not even exaggerating. It's a specific transformation. It's a specific feminine energy activation that I've done with my clients for years and years and years now. So if you're one of my clients or if you've worked with me before, I'm sure you know the general vibe of what's about to happen on this call. But what it does is that it plugs you into the deepest and most electric source of your feminine power. And you literally leave the call forever changed. Nothing will ever be the same after that, because you are connected to your turn on. You are connected to your passion. You are connected to your power, your deep feminine leadership. You will meet your inner Liberatrix, and she will liberate the fuck out of you and everyone who you know, because that's what she fucking does. So day 2 is really when the magic starts, babes. Today is just dipping our toe in. So highly recommend coming to the Zoom call live. And yeah, so day 1, introducing the Liberatrix. Day 2, meeting your inner Liberatrix on Zoom. Day 3 through 5, all on Telegram, just like day 1. Day 3 is about liberating yourself. Day 4 is about liberating the world. And day 5 is about claiming your seat on the throne as a deep feminine leader. Day 5 is all about deep feminine leadership. And the Liberatrix and the deep feminine leader are two sides of the same coin. And I will get more into that today. But one thing that you should know is that I have so much juice and magic for y'all over the next few days. Literally, this is my fucking jam. This is my favorite thing to teach about. So it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot of love and magic and energy and passion, and you're going to feel alive in this chat. You're going to be able to taste my medicine. You're going to be able to feel what it's like to work with me. You're going to be able to feel what it's like to be connected to your own deep feminine power and how that ripples out and affects how you feel, how you love, how you lead, how it affects your business, how it affects your relationships, how it affects how you feel in your own skin, how the world sees you, how you see yourself, how you see the world. And it's just going to be a fucking party. And I'm so excited. So to get us started, what I would love to know is a few things. To start us off in here, I'm going to share some riffs that are coming to the surface on the Liberatrix and feminine liberation. And from there, I will later today dive into the archetype of the Liberatrix, unraveling her, diving into her. Who is she? What can she do for you? What will she do for you? What is she against? What is she for? How does she show up in your life? Okay, let's fucking go. Feminine liberation saved my life. It healed me from 4.5 years of intense chronic illness with chronic Lyme disease. It saved my life and my mental health when I was severely depressed and wanted to die. Feminine liberation brought me my sexuality back after 5 years of celibacy and feeling disconnected from my body. Feminine liberation is what made me brave enough to become the successful, dope, badass, iconic business owner that I am today, who doesn't play by anyone else's rules except for my own. Feminine liberation brought my husband to me. Feminine liberation made me not just a wife, but like a sexy witch wife who just brings magic into her love affair with her husband. Feminine liberation brought me my community. It brought me this fucking house, this home that we've made in Austin. Feminine liberation is the life force that brings your desires and the life that you're meant to live to you. I firmly believe that following our soul's path and actually succeeding on that path and having a hell of a fun time is just giving yourself permission slip after permission slip after permission slip. It is liberation after liberation after liberation. And every time that you liberate yourself, you liberate every single woman around you who sees you doing that. Liberation questions the obvious. Liberation, or shall I say the Liberatrix pops all of the bubbles in your auric field that have been keeping you tired, small, safe, with a dry pussy. The Liberatrix pops all of the illusions that are keeping you from being turned on and fully lit up in your life and fully charged. She questions the obvious. She's the one who says, are you sure? That sounds like a fucking story that you're telling yourself, babe. Are you sure? Are you sure that you don't have what it takes? Are you sure that you feel like no one likes you? Are you sure that you feel like you can't heal because you have chronic illness and there's no cure, so you can't have a sexy life and travel and work and love? Are you sure that you're just not cut out to be a successful entrepreneur? Are you sure that you're a lone wolf who's meant to have no friends? Are you sure that you're shy? Are you sure? And she will pop the bubble on the most long thought out, intricate stories that you've been holding on to for fucking years. and you don't even know that it's a story. In your mind, you're like, this is fact. This is fact. This is just who I am. This is just how things are. And she comes in and she goes with a wink and a laugh, and she pops that fucking bubble. She pops that story. She pops that orb, that dome that was over your auric field that has been preventing all of the abundance and wild sex and money and love and friendship and joy and fulfillment and health that have been wanting to come into your field. But you've had this story block. You've had all these stories blocking it. And the Liberatrix comes in and she sets that fucking dome on fire. And you laugh because there's new air to breathe. There's fresh air to breathe. I know that I'm speaking in fucking generalities, but this is how I teach. First, it's general metaphors. Then it's personal stories. Then it's takeaways on how to implement this shit into your life. This is what I live for. Feminine liberation is the crux of her alchemy. It is why I am who I am today. And I want to give the gift of feminine liberation to all of you so that you can be powerful, so that you can be iconic, feminine leaders, iconic feminine mothers, iconic feminine wild women, iconic feminine childless wise woman witches, iconic feminine artists. Whatever the fuck your soul is meant to do here in this life, I want the Liberatrix to give you the key to unlock that possibility for you and make it not just a possibility, but fucking inevitable. Okay? Okay. The moment that the Liberatrix has worked her magic on you and you've accepted it, it feels like a laugh and a fresh breath air. It feels like taking your bra off at the end of a long day. It feels like finally living your life. She is life force energy. And the woman who is devoted to being the Liberatrix, not just for herself again and again and again, but every single woman who is under the spell of something that is keeping her small, whether that is the patriarchy or body image issues or her own bullshit stories to keep her safe or ancestral feminine wounds or whatever the fuck it is. It's your responsibility as the woman who takes on the role of the Liberatrix to not just liberate yourself, but also liberate every woman who sees you. Both by constantly, again and again and again, liberating yourself by way of your own embodiment, and also by developing the sight to see where other women are keeping themselves stuck, and being brave enough to tell them where they're keeping themselves stuck. And if you trigger them, the trigger is the medicine. The Liberatrix is the archetype that walks you into the deep feminine leader. The deep feminine leader is the most powerful, influential, ancient feminine archetype. When I think of the deep feminine leader, I think of Mary Magdalene. I think of priestesses. I think of witches. I think of feminine CEOs who didn't listen to any of the fucking rules and made her own rules and became super successful by doing just that. The deep feminine leader, the archetype of the deep feminine leader and the Liberatrix are two sides of one coin. You cannot be a deep feminine leader without fully embodying your Liberatrix. The deep feminine leader is who she is because she is the Liberatrix first. And every woman here, I know you signed up for this because you are fucking naughty. You are a naughty angel. You are an angel who came down to earth and said, you know what? I'm going to liberate humanity with what I know to be true. So I'm going to take a path that is a little less popular. In fact, it's super unpopular. And I'm not going to get off of it. I'm going to stay on my path, no matter what, learning my lessons so that I can teach other women what I know and free them in the process. Liberation applies to the masculine and the feminine. It applies to humanity. But what I teach on is feminine liberation. Because the feminine, as you all know, has been suppressed for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And it's making women across the world sick. It made me sick. And feminine liberation is exactly what brought me my health back. It's exactly what made me successful. It's exactly what made me powerful. And that's all I want to do for you all over the next few days is to remind you that the only one who can walk you into your power is you. And you're here because you're meant to be fucking powerful. You're meant to be a powerful woman because you're iconic. You're a legend. The fires that you've walked yourself through, the trials that you've endured, the deaths and rebirths that you've had, the wisdom that you've embodied, this shit could save the fucking world. Like, you went through what you went through because you are meant to be a feminine force in the world. You are meant to save lives just through being yourself, just through showing other women what is possible, just through following what you know to be true and being unapologetically confident on that path. Having your voice, having the lady cojones, the lady ovaries to do what you're meant to do, no matter the cost, because you believe in yourself, even if it triggers people, even if it's taboo. Because guess what? How the feminine rises, which I believe will happen big time. I don't know if it's going to be in our lifetime, but what I do know is that what it takes is hundreds of thousands of women planting the seeds now so that one day we can live in a world where the feminine is revered, honored, and respected, again, by the powers that be. So that's the macro, right? But how we get there is through the fucking liberatrix and the deep feminine leader. So let's fucking go. And for you, my love, over the next few days, I want you to get your heart blasted the fuck open. I want you to remember who the fuck you are. I want you to feel fully fucking alive again. I want you to feel inspired. I want you to feel ignited. I want you to feel unstoppable, because you are. I want you to understand that you are the captain of your ship. What's the feminine word for captain? I don't fucking know, but you are the captainess of your ship. You are the liberatrix of your life. I want you to meet the archetype of the liberatrix tomorrow, actually, in your body, and become the liberatrix of your own life. I want you to alchemize any shutdown or stuckness in your body into pure life force energy and power through this wild feminine embodiment and archetype work. I want you to learn how to be a walking permission slip for yourself and others, to become known as a transformational feminine force and liberate everyone who knows you through your own embodiment, wisdom, conviction, and unapologetic self-expression. I want you to fucking claim your seat on the throne and rise in your feminine leadership as the wild and wise woman leader you're meant to be. That's what I want for you. All right? And my desire, my vision for you after this is all over, I want you to be the baddest bitch. I want you to know that anything that you feel a pull towards, what you fucking desire, is holy and it's meant for you. I want you to know that when you embody your inner liberatrix, you become the iconic feminine leader that you're really meant to be. I want her to burn your bullshit. I want her to usher you into the most iconic era of your feminine leadership. I want her to elevate you into a soul on fire life that you're obsessed with, that you're in love with, that other people are like, whoa, what the fuck? How is she living her life that way? I want to learn from her. I want you to just be who the fuck you were born to be without questioning yourself, without doubting yourself, without wondering any pointless question as to why you're not where you want to be yet, or like, you're fucking doing it, babe. You are on the path. I want you to have a fuck you level of confidence and so much energy to create and to lead. I want you to be unshakable so that when storms come, you're solid. I want you to be not just a feminine leader, but a strong feminine leader. And to be a strong feminine leader, you have to be a deep feminine leader. And to be a deep feminine leader, you have to get fucked by the liberatrix in the best way. You got to embody her, babe. You got to let her into your body and let her lead you. I promise you, everything in your life, business, friendships, relationships, bloom with her, because she sprinkles life force energy wherever she goes. I've been loving seeing all of your guys' intros in here. I'm so freaking happy. And also, like, how dope are the women in here? I'm so proud of the caliber of women that Her Alchemy attracts. You're all witchy queens and phoenixes and just powerful women, and I love you. Even if we're just meeting, there's like this soul resonance, and I'm just like, fuck yes, thank you for being here. So day one has some powerful stories for you. I have some powerful stories for you. I'm going to tell you about the first time that I met my liberatrix, and my next time with her, and then the time after that with her. So my first 3 big experiences with the liberatrix. We are going to go over these stories again tomorrow because they're so important and they have to do with what I am teaching you tomorrow. But I want to first touch on them here so that you have context for why this container exists, so that you can feel the power pulsing beneath the liberatrix, so that you can connect her, so that you can connect to her, right? And before I start telling those stories, there's been so many random downloads that have happened throughout my day, and I wrote all of them down. We're going to cover all of them over the next 5 days, but I want to quickly touch on one of them because it's really important. And that's the difference between the rebel and the liberatrix. So raise your hand. I'm raising my hand. If for most of your life you've identified as a rebel. I still do. I'm still a fucking rebel. And when the princess becomes the queen, the rebel becomes the liberatrix. The rebel is an archetype within the sphere of the dark feminine. The way that I teach on the feminine is in 3 spheres. There's the dark feminine, there's the light feminine, and there's the deep feminine. The deep feminine contains the strongest aspects of the light feminine and the most potent integrated aspects of the dark feminine. So the rebel is a dark feminine archetype. The princess is a light feminine archetype. The liberatrix is a deep feminine archetype. The queen is also a deep feminine archetype. So the rebel, you need the rebel to become the liberatrix. No one comes out of the womb a liberatrix, actually, because the point of the liberatrix is that she comes in when you are ready to take radical responsibility for your life and your choices and your happiness and your pleasure and your joy and your success. And she will not come in a moment sooner. Like, she is cutthroat with the level of maturity that she has. And growing up as girls, we don't have access to that. We literally don't have the psychological development to be in full liberatrix mode. In fact, most of us don't meet her until at some point in our 20s. For some of us, it happens in our 30s. For some of us, our 40s. For me, I first met her when I was 24. I'm 31 now. And she has revolutionized my life top to bottom. Do I still embody the rebel and the bad girl? Abso-fucking-lutely. And when I want to make some deep changes in my life, when I want to reorganize the structure of my entire life, when I want to powerfully pronounce to the world who the fuck I am, when I want to go through deep transformations, when I want to die and be reborn, when I want to rise from the fucking ashes, when I need, like, imagine the amount of power that you need to light up New York City versus the amount of power you need to light up a room of electric candles. Lighting up a room of electric candles is the rebel. That's the power. She has fucking power. I mean, like, the good girl can't light one candle. And we love the good girl. She comes in when she's needed. We need her. But she can't light a candle. The bad girl and the rebel can light a room full of candles, electric candles, right? With her power. The liberatrix, the amount of fucking power that she holds, that I want you to feel coursing through your body by the end of this week, the amount of feminine power that she holds could light up an entire fucking city. That's how revolutionary she is. So for women who have incarnated to do big things in their life, to be the first one in their lineage who XYZ, to be the first woman in their lineage who XYZ, to be the first one who you know of who is doing XYZ, to do brave shit, to do big shit, to become a leader. To own your leadership, you gotta embody the liberatrix. The liberatrix is a deep feminine archetype, which is why she is related to the deep feminine leader. And nuance here, you can be a liberatrix without being a deep feminine leader, depending on your soul's mission, but you cannot be a deep feminine leader without being a liberatrix. Okay, needed to get that out. So drop it in the chat if this resonates. I'm going to start recording some really powerful stories for you and some more teachings. I told y'all this is going to be a rich one, and we're just getting started. So at the end of my 24th year on Earth, I met my inner liberatrix for the first time in a way that shifted the course of the rest of my life. Inevitably, the most potent before and after experience I have ever had. At that point, I had been sick for almost 3 years. I got sick at the beginning of my 22nd year. And so at that point, it had almost been 3 years at that point. And when I say sick, I'm talking about chronic Lyme disease. I was diagnosed with chronic Lyme, for those of you who don't know, when I was 22. And I had a 4.5/5 year long, it was 4.5 exactly. It was 4.5 year long journey with chronic Lyme disease before I reached a state of complete remission, reclaimed a state of radiant health, healed mind, body, soul, created a new life for myself, stepped into the woman who I am today. Everything happened. Like, I am who I am today because of my initiation. Chronic Lyme disease was my initiation. It was neurological, it was physical, it was spiritual, it was emotional. I lost everything that I thought made me who I am. So the symptoms of the disease itself stripped away everything that my 22-year-old ego had been holding on to so tightly for years. In this state of control, like, this is who I am. This is who I am. I was an avid fitness woman. I don't want to say guru. I wasn't a fitness guru, but I worked at SoulCycle. I was constantly working out day and night. I was like deep in the law of attraction train. I would like my spirituality has evolved. I did not, I have always been spiritual. I was born spiritual. I was born as someone who can walk in between worlds. But at this specific stage in my life, I was like really clinging on to like toxic positivity almost. Like, I was just so afraid. I was so afraid of everything that wasn't perfection. And I had to be a certain weight. And I had to look a certain way, and I had to feel a certain way. Like, I hadn't gotten introduced to shadow work yet, like nothing, right? So I was deeply spiritual, but I had not yet entered the terrain of the deep feminine. Chronic Lyme disease was my deep feminine initiation. So for those first 2.5 years, I was going to all of these doctors, Western doctors, I had to move back home with my parents because I lost the ability to take care of myself. The fatigue and the pain, the bone-crushing fatigue and the pain were so bad that I could barely get out of bed. On some days, brushing my teeth and washing my face was all I could do. So when I say Lyme stripped me of who I thought I was, I mean that literally. I could not exercise anymore. I could not avoid the darkness anymore. I could not avoid my shadows anymore. It was just everything that my worst fears were there. I was like catapulted. I'm like, oh, God, I'm feeling God right now. I was catapulted into the void without my consent, like a fucking flick into the depths of my personal hell. And at first I went screaming and crying and kicking. And I was like, I was in denial. It wasn't happening. Oh, the doctors are saying that it'll get better after 3 months of antibiotics. So that's what's going to happen. Little did I know at the time, it wasn't just Lyme disease. It was chronic Lyme disease, which is, I don't know the percentage. There's a specific percentage of cases that's chronic and it doesn't get better after antibiotics. And that's what I had. And when my doctors figured that out, they shifted from, chronic Lyme is a fucking mystery, and there is no telling as to whether or not you will ever get better. This is an incurable illness. There is no cure. It's possible that you'll be sick for the rest of your life and that you'll just have to focus on symptom management, and just managing it and just weaving in and out of doctors for the rest of your life and being a professional patient for the rest of your life. And some of them had positive attitudes at the beginning and they were like, no, we're going to get you better. But then as the months and the years went on, and I was like the best patient. I went to every doctor appointment. That was my life. My mom would drive me to my doctor's appointments for those first 2 years because I wasn't able to drive with the neurological symptoms. And she would sit down. My mom was my superhero during these years, and I will never not be grateful to her in the deepest way possible. She took such good care of me. She would sit down with me at all of these doctor's appointments and take notes because my brain fog was so bad that I couldn't register what was going on. And they would go over blood work. They would go over lab tests, and then they would recommend a set of treatments. And I was a fucking guinea pig because with chronic Lyme, no one really knows. It's one of those illnesses that doctors are like, well, good luck. We don't fucking know. We don't know why you're sick. We don't know how to make it better, right? And so I stayed within the realm of the known for the first 2 years. Actually, that's a fucking lie. It was the first year, actually. And after 1 year of bullshit, after 1 year of IV antibiotics and pumping my body with all of these experimental treatments and pumping my blood with ozone and pumping, not that that's bad. None of these are bad. They all helped in a specific way. They all got me to where I eventually ended up. But after the first year, my mom and I together were like, you know what? This isn't working and we're no longer going to do this because my body, it got to the point where my body was screaming at me whenever I would put a pill in my mouth, whenever I'd put one of the treatments in my mouth. And the amount of voices that I had coming at me, telling me what was wrong with me at all hours of the fucking day, there was this screaming inside of me. And I would literally get into the bath at the end of every day and I would fill it to the very top and I would submerge my entire face and body under the water and I would just scream at the top of my lungs. Because that's the only time that I felt peace, because no one could touch me. No one could jab a fucking needle in my arm with antibiotics. No one could fucking tell me what was wrong with me. And I realized a powerful lesson at that point, which is when you go looking for what's wrong with you, there will be 1,000,001 people who will tell you what's wrong with you for a price. They'll tell you, and this is also in the coaching industry, and I'm obsessed with the coaching industry, and I'm literally in love with it, and I'll probably always be a coach because it's part of my fucking gift. But in any profession, in any industry, if you go around, specifically in like the helping industry, like doctors, coaches, mentors, no, scratch that, any industry, even home contractors, if you go around saying, tell me what's wrong, they will tell you what's wrong, and they will charge you and say it'll cost this much to fix it. And then you feel weak. I'm like unraveling capitalism. And then you feel weak and you feel scared and you feel disempowered and you've given your power away. And you say, okay, help me. And you pay them. But you're not just paying them. You're giving them your power in that energy. It is the exact opposite of mature mentorship, mature healing, mature consulting, where you are in your power and you know that there's nothing wrong with you. You just want someone to walk alongside you as you go on your journey, which is game changing, and it's everything because we're not meant to do anything alone. So after the first year, I figured that out. I was like, whoa, this could go on for the rest of my fucking life if I stayed in this point of consciousness. And my inner rebel woke up after the first year and she was like, fuck this, no more. And I tuned into my body and I finally fucking listened to her and my body wept and rejoiced. So at that point, I left the world of Western medicine after 1 year of working with it. And Western medicine is brilliant for so many people and for so many cases, right? I mean, like I had a UTI last year that was like so horrible. I ended up in the hospital and I had to take antibiotics and boom, knocked it out. Like, yes, like I'm not anti-Western medicine at all, but I am pro, like, you choose like what is right for your body, right? So I chose what is right for my body in that moment after a year of fucking ignoring it. Cause I was like, well, the doctors must know better than my body. No, they didn't. They did not. And I ventured out into the world of Eastern medicine. And I went into homeopathy and I went into acupuncture and I went into Chinese medicine. I went into Ayurvedic healing a little bit, not really, but sort of. I went into herbal healing. I started, going to therapy and working through a lot of stuff. And that was really helpful. And I did that for about 6 months. And then at that point, I learned the power of somatic healing because I started going to a somatic therapist and a shamanic spiritual healer, super beautiful, divine masculine, old man shaman at the top of a hill who lives with his wife alone. His name is George, which is so funny because he is literally Dumbledore. And then a divine feminine, a somatic healer. Those are my two people who walked me into the arms of my deep feminine awakening, right? My deep feminine, which is a movement that's happening across the world, by the way. And what I want is for all of us, all of you, to become deep feminine leaders so that the deep feminine can awaken in every single woman who is open to her, so that the feminine can save herself. So I went into the world of somatic healing and spiritual healing and shadow work. And for months, I did so much fucking shadow work and deep emotional healing and deep trauma healing. And I started to get better. Like I started to see shifts, but it was very inconsistent. And it would just go up and down and up and down and up and down until a specific somatic therapy session where I was brought into the depths of the place in my body where it hurt the most. And in this moment, I learned in your deepest pain is your deepest gift. So I went to the fucking bottom. I went past like 13 layers of pain in my body. I was sobbing, like it was emotional pain. That was presenting itself somatically. I was sobbing. I was screaming. I was fighting it all the way there. But at that point, I was like, you know what? Like, I've got nothing left to lose. I'm game. I'm willing to die. Like, I had to get to the point of I'm willing to be obliterated. I'm willing to die to actually access my deep feminine. And that's a key difference between the rebel and the liberatrix, because the rebel, you don't need that level of intensity and bravery and like power to access the rebel. But you need that level of power and ballsiness to access the deep feminine. So I just kept going and going and going. And then I hit the bottom and it was silent. It was completely silent. And all the energy came to a halt. And I went on this like ayahuasca ceremony, basically, completely sober. This was the first time that had ever happened to me. My vision woke up. My third eye showed me all of these things. And what I saw was a cave. And I went inside of the cave and it felt like home. And it felt like the most powerful place I've ever seen. And there was a fire burning in the middle of the cave. And at the end of the cave, there was this naked, beautiful woman dripping in divine sovereignty and confidence. And her skin glowed with this fire. And with one hand, she held this rose. And in the other hand, she held this like ball of like electricity, this fire. And she turned around and she walked towards me and she was so fucking free. She was so free. And when she got closer, I saw that she was me. I saw that she was me with none of my labels. I had been labeled since I was 13 years old. No, since I was 11. Since I was 11 years old. My first diagnosis was Hashimoto's thyroiditis when I was 11. Oop, there's something wrong with you. Here's a drug that you'll have to take for the rest of your life to fix it. You're broken. Bye. Then when I was 13, you have celiac disease. Then when I was 14, you have generalized anxiety disorder. You have major depressive disorder. You have obsessive thoughts. Years later, you have binge eating disorder. Years later, you have restrictive eating disorder. Like literally, and then years later, chronic Lyme disease. Like literally from the ages of 11 to 22, it was just, to 24. From the ages of 11 to 24, it was just constant labels. Constant. But I didn't know at the time that there's nothing wrong with me. What this me in front of me knew is that I was born into this world with this very special role. I am a highly sensitive woman, a shamanic woman. I walk in between worlds. I go where others do not go to gain wisdom that the collective needs for mass global healing. I can pick up on things from 10,000 miles away. I can smell a lie before it's even said. I can liberate truth in the moment by the way that I hold my body. My energy influences everything in the room. Like I didn't know any of this until I met my deep feminine. I just thought I was like fucked up and like had a lot of problems. And like, I never got to the point where like I never got to the point where like I couldn't function until I was broken down with chronic Lyme disease. You know, I was a good student. I mean, I was a fucking rebel. And by the time I was a senior in high school, I was like, fuck this. But I was genuinely I was still doing it. I was doing my best, right? With the help of like a lot of medication. And like when I was in high school. But I didn't break down until my body literally broke down. Like I didn't break down until I was forced to. And thank God that happened because I wouldn't have met my deep feminine. And she turned around in this cave, in this vision, and she told me that she is me without my fear. That she is my light and my dark, integrated and merged into one, birthing something otherworldly from their integration. She's able to hold, receive, and birth extraordinary things. She is my power. She is my passion. She is the me that kept trying to come up throughout my life, and I would be punished for her coming up. Her name was Violet. And she is my inner deep feminine. She is my deep feminine energy. She is my liberatrix. She is my inner deep feminine leader. Throughout the years, I've realized that she's many things. But she's that. Like, that's the truest label of her, even though she fucking hates labels. She is the embodiment of my deep feminine power, period. That's why she's my inner leader. That's why she's my inner liberatrix. So I met her and she was just like, are you ready for me now? Because I've tried to come out hundreds of other times and you've shoved me down, and that's okay, but are you ready for me now? And I looked her in the eyes and I was like, abso-fucking-lutely, yes. That level of like, I'm willing to let go of everyone who I've ever been, of everything that I've ever believed. I'm willing for the next thing to happen. I'm willing to become the version of myself who I was meant to be. Throughout my journey with Lyme, God kept whispering in my ear over and over and over again, because the veil was so fucking thin during those years. There was basically no separation. And Spirit, God, Goddess, whispered to me and was saying, this happened to you because first of all, it happened for you. And this is happening because it's the thing that walks you from the woman who you thought you had to be into the woman who you were born to be. Nothing else could have done it. This was part of my soul. This was part of my soul journey, my soul contract. Like, this was my initiation into my deep feminine power. And so I took Violet's hand and I came out of that somatic therapy session literally forever changed. And she liberated me from the shackles of illness by questioning the obvious, first and foremost. By asking, what is Lyme? Like, first of all, what is Lyme? What is depression? What are all of these labels? They're labels. They're labels that some man named and put in a textbook. But what is the truth? The truth is that we are all vibrating constantly. Our cells aren't even solid. We're literally this beautiful divine manifestation put in this human body, right? And at any moment, we can shift. All of life is in every moment. Don't miss it. That's another thing that I learned from her. I was avoiding the pain that I was in, which was causing me even more pain, instead of learning how to find pleasure in my pain, instead of learning how to find power in my pain, instead of learning how to alchemize my pain into purpose. The sadness, the joy, the fucked upness, the anger, the heartbreak, the passion, the healing, the births, the deaths, all of it is life. The gift is life. So I realized in that moment after communing with Violet it wasn't, oh, I'm either healthy or not healthy, and that's what depends on my happiness. It's, I'm alive, and that's the fucking gift. The fact that my soul incarnated into this body, the fact that I was given the ability to love at the level at which I do, that's the gift. The fact that I have healing gifts and am able to heal other women in profound ways and transform them and walk powerful women into their fucking purpose and soul on fire life. Whew, that's the gift. So I took the power away from my entire life is about healing. It stopped being about healing and it started being about living. I stopped saying, oh, when I heal from Lyme, I will, move out of my parents' house and I will start having sex and start dating again. I was celibate for 5 years during this journey. So it was like, when I heal, I'll travel, I'll start the business that I know I'm meant to start. Violet was like, what the fuck is that? That is literally the biggest trap that humans have around themselves. Is this, I will do X when X. In that, you are not powerful. You are not in your power when you are thinking in that way and you are choosing to not be in your power because it's fucking easier to not be in your power. And that's the truth. But when you decide that you want to live a life rich with purpose and power and pleasure and love and magic, you say yes to doing the slightly harder thing or the much harder thing. You say yes to the truth. You say yes to being in your power. When you are not in your power, you are not in your truth because you are innately powerful. So with Violet, over the next year, in like 3 months, I healed every piece of my body by following my body's treatment plan, which instead of things like ozone therapy or antibiotics was like listening to my intuition, eating foods that my body said yes to, becoming sexual again, allowing myself to be a deeply sexual woman, even though I didn't feel super confident in my sexuality at that time, like allowing myself to orgasm and feel pleasure and awaken that part of myself again, allowing myself to flirt and play. Like, it doesn't have to be so fucking serious all the fucking time. Allowing myself to do all sorts of shit, right? And with her, I healed. With her, I healed. With her, I healed. With her, I was reborn. With her, I reached a state of complete remission, regained my health. I met the love of my fucking life. Now my husband, literally right after that, like within a fucking month of being clear from Lyme and like meeting him and falling in love with him. And then after that, writing my book, Strange and Unusual Creatures, having my book published. It's on Amazon. You should fucking read it. Starting my business, Her Alchemy. Changing the world with my soul gifts. My deep feminine power was activated in those years, as were my healing gifts, as were my transformational coaching abilities, as were my alchemy abilities. All of my spiritual gifts were turned up to 1,000 during those years, and I couldn't not serve. I couldn't not start my business. I would have exploded because I was vibrating with so much magic. How could I not share it? And then Violet she led me she acted as my liberatrix during those years, right? And that was the beginning of my deep feminine leadership. How she walked me into my deep feminine leadership, into the woman who I am today, is a different story. And we'll either get to that tomorrow or later tonight. But that was my first encounter with the Liberatrix. I hope this transmission served you. I love you. You're meant to be here. You belong here. Let me know what came up for you in listening to this in the chat. and definitely, definitely be there tomorrow. The level of power that you will be connected to on that call, like pure, loving, true, passionate, feminine, fiery power is beyond. Give yourself the gift of being there. It's literally 1 hour of your entire day, maybe an hour and a half, tops. And it will change the rest of your life. So be there, and when you're there, be fully there. Don't be doing other stuff on your laptop. Be really there. Because you're here, you signed up for Liberatrix for a fucking reason, babe. And the most powerful part of Liberatrix happens tomorrow morning. 8 a.m. PST, 10 a.m. CST, 11 a.m. EST. I'm not sure what time it is in Europe, but it's going to be in the evening for you. Not too late, either like at 6 or 7. I can't wait to see you there. So the second time that my deep feminine liberatrix came through for me was different because it was hard and fast. It was actually soft and fast. It was like so effortless because I had already accessed her energy over and over and over and over again. After my first meeting with her, I just kept choosing her again and again and again and again every single day until I looked around and saw a life that set my soul on fire in a body that I felt healthy, happy, free, and fierce in. So I already knew her, right? So it didn't take this dramatic thing like it did the first time. But it was about a year. Was it a year? Yeah, it was about a year. It was a year after healing and reaching a state of remission. And I had enjoyed a year of love and sex and beauty. And then I got mold poisoning. I was living in a San Francisco apartment at the time. And San Francisco is notorious for having moldy apartment buildings because they were all built in like the fucking 1700s, etc., or 1800s or whatever. And man, I was really feeling ill, and I thought it was Lyme at first, but it turned out it was just mold poisoning, and I was like, thank God. I knew that that part of my life was over, so I was like doubtful that it was Lyme, but of course a little fear came up. But it turned out to be mold poisoning. But right when we figured that out, the pandemic happened. So it was March of 2020. And I wanted to be with my family. Everyone was super scared. In San Francisco, where I was living at the time, everything was super intense. I mean, people were wearing masks in their car. Like, no one was going on walks. Like, it was scary. Super intense vibe over there during that time. And I wanted to be with my family instead of just immediately finding another place to live. So I temporarily moved back home with my fam bam for the next, I want to say 3 months. And oh my God, it sucked. It was, it sucked. It just felt like I had come so far. And then there I was with mold poisoning, which has similar symptoms to Lyme. It wasn't as bad, thank God, obviously. It was just this temporary blip that was out of my system within, I want to say 6 weeks, and detoxed the mold out of my system in 6 weeks, because at that point my body was healthy and strong. But during those 6 weeks, I felt like absolute shit. I was super fucking tired. I felt disgusting. I felt, I was just, it was, and I had also at the same time, just broken up with my now husband when I thought that it was possibly Lyme that was happening. And I got really scared, and all of my intimacy issues pushed him away. And I broke up with him, and I almost lost the fucking love of my life because of my inability to let him see me when I was struggling. And of course, we got back together 6 months later, and the rest is history. We moved in together, got engaged, got married, etc. But that's another story for another time, or you can take my course, Naked Heart, and you'll learn all about it. But I was like heartbroken. I was like mold poisoned. I was at home with my parents again, and I was like, what the fuck is happening? I had lost this like bad bitch confidence, and I which has developed rapidly over the years, but I had lost any sort of confidence that I had been feeling over the last year. And so I just remember like sitting in bed in my PJs with like food stains on my fucking sweatshirt, hadn't left the house in a few days. And I really had this moment of, okay, this is not the vibe. Violet, I need you. And I remember saying that out loud. Violet, I need you. Liberatrix, I need you. Deep feminine, fuck my shit up. Come on. Like, because at that point, my self-concept was higher than my current reality. So my standard for how I lived my life was not matching up. So it was able to, the transformation, the change happened very quickly. I mean, I think the mold detoxed out of my body within like 3 fucking days after that. But I said, Violet, I need you. And a second later, she was there. She was in my hips, circling them. She was in my mouth, wetting my tongue. She was in my pussy, turning me on. She was in my heart, opening up my entire auric field. And I just felt this electric Kundalini energy go up and down my spine and up and down my spine. And my spine started undulating. And I started moving in these like really sexual ways. And I started dancing on my bed. And I remember I like took my fucking pants off, and I was wearing like these panties, and I took a video of me dancing. And I was like, you know what? I've been wanting to talk about sexual feminine embodiment for years in my business, and I've been like playing so fucking small. And I had just been doing like, up until that point, I was working with kids, which was a beautiful part of my journey. That's how I started my business, was teaching kids EFT. That was literally stage 1 of my business. But that was like, again, it was stage 1. It was not my deepest purpose. So I was like really not in my full expression in the world. And I also wasn't doing great in that business. I wasn't making a ton of money. So I was like, you know what? Okay, here's what's going to happen. We're going to start showing, this is Violet. Violet came through. She's like, okay, we're going to start showing our full expression online. We're going to follow our desire. We're going to get you the fuck out of this situation. You're going to fucking shine. You're going to feel fully fucking alive again. You're going to go like ovaries to the wall with your business. You're going to hire a business coach who you love. You're going to hire like a feminine embodiment coach who you love. You're going to just follow the aliveness and keep choosing life again and again and again until it gets you to where you want to be. And you're going to be fucking brave. And you're also going to start making money now. So while you're building your coaching business up as a women's coach, I'm actually going to need you to do freelance erotica and start your own business where you do freelance, like custom high ticket erotica. I was like, okay, cool, got it. So I posted the video of me on my Instagram dancing around in my underwear with this beautiful caption about sexual liberation. First time sharing it. I made the decision in that moment, obviously right before then, like, 10 minutes before then, I was like, I'm complete with the other chapter of my business. It was complete anyways because of the pandemic. I already knew that I needed to shift out of it. So I stopped giving a fuck about not being appropriate. And I was like, so many of my gifts are in the inappropriate. So many of my gifts are in the taboo. I was so in my good girl for like the first bit of my business. And so I just fucking went there, and it got so many likes and comments, and people are like, holy shit, like, when are you going to start offering? When are you going to do a course on this? Like, this is so fucking inspiring. My sister called me concerned about my mental health. She was like, are you okay? Like, super judgmental. I love her to death, but she's so judgmental. And I was like, listen, you're not going to understand, but this is who I am. And it's just the first time that I've been brave enough to actually embody who I am. And I'm not going to delete it. And P.S., I'm bisexual. I just like came out about my sexuality in that moment. P.S., so many of my gifts are in feminine sexual liberation and reclamation. P.S., I'm a bad bitch. P.S., you haven't seen nothing yet. So I posted the fucking video. I started my freelancing, that like this happened within a fucking day. I started my freelancing. Remember what I said about how much energy the Liberatrix supplies? She could light a whole city. Yeah, this was more than a rebellion. It wasn't the rebel. It was the Liberatrix. I started my business, my side business, the high ticket custom erotica, and actually did quite fucking well on Fiverr. I was charging like $500 a pop, and I was getting tons of requests. So I actually made good money with that. But then I also at the same time was building my coaching business. So I stopped the erotica once I was starting to make money in my coaching business, which happened pretty much fucking immediately. When I brought her into my business for the first time, which is my third story. My coaching business. But anyway, this was the stage where I was just doing high ticket erotica. I had made the decision to go balls deep in my ovaries deep in my coaching business, but I hadn't really like built up the momentum yet. That came next. And then I wrote my book. I finished my book. I had been working on that fucking book for years. It's literally my masterpiece, Strange and Unusual Creatures. I had been writing it since, I don't know, like year 2 of me going through chronic Lyme. So I was detailing, I was writing about it in real time, what was happening. And it was such a fucking, truly a masterpiece. And I finished it that day. That day, I was like, I don't want to sit on this fucking masterpiece and send it out to people who can tell me that it's either good enough or not good enough. I didn't send it into one publisher because I was like, no, I want to publish it. I want to be in control. I want to receive all the proceeds. I want this. And also, I barely marketed it because it wasn't about that. Publishing my book wasn't about, I want to be a well-known author. It was, I'm a writer and this book needs to be published, which is going to make me an author. And that's dope. I was already a published author at that point with my other writing works and magazines. I had been doing freelance writing for years and years, but having my own book was like next level. So I self-published it on Amazon like that fucking day. And then I moved out of my parents' house, I don't know, within a few months after that. And damn, dude, that's the side of the liberatrix, the side of the deep feminine that genuinely, she comes out when you can no longer live as you're currently living because you know that there's more, right? She comes out when you're ready to dive head first into the cold ass water because you know that there's so much life and juiciness for you there, right? Like she comes in when you're ready to let go of the fucking story. Like the story that I was telling myself was, I have mold poisoning. It's the pandemic. I'm just waiting. The liberatrix doesn't wait. She doesn't wait for shit. She feels the desire and she fucking does it because she knows that waiting is a story. There have been several times in my journey when I've taken intentional pauses, when I'm like, okay, enough transformation. I need to rest for months. For months, I do that. And it's beautiful. And I go into the void intentionally to come out on the other side an even more powerful, deep feminine leader than I was before. But that's not waiting. That's like, I'm in a rest phase, right? I was waiting and I was like, not in my power. The liberatrix doesn't stand for any of that shit. She won't let you. So, and also the liberatrix was the one who called my now husband, but we were broken up at the time, and just said, hey, I want to let you know that you're in the book. I don't say your name, but you're a chapter of my book. And I was brave enough to say that. And I was like, it was that, you know what, the love with Charlie is a separate story, but like, she made me brave enough to tell him that he was in the book. And of course, he read the book and called me and was like, I love you. Never push me away ever again. I will love you in all of your colors and all of your phases, whether you're sick, whether you're healthy, whether you're weak, whether you're strong. Never push me away again. And then we never broke up ever again, and we got married. He's my soulmate. But again, another story. And she, the Liberatrix, she's just this, her element is fire. She lights a fire in your belly. She gives you your power back when you forgot that you put it away for a fucking hot second. Fire moves. The reason why, when I was at the point in my business, when I was doing business coaching, I was always teaching about the feminine, even when I was a business coach, because when women connect to this energy, their business blooms, explodes, and grows because of the fire that they have, because of the unapologetic vibe that they have, because of their bravery. And it's not just their business, it's their relationships. Their relationships bloom. The ones that were draining them fall away. Their boundaries get turned up to 100. Their standards get raised. The Liberatrix gives you the fire to burn all the shit that was keeping you small. And she gives you the fire to move into your bigness. But moving into your business requires movement. So she is the movement. So story number 3 that I want to tell you about is how the Liberatrix walked me into the me that is a deep feminine leader. Another iconic Her Alchemy, like fucking origin moment. And then that's just who I've been ever since. Years ago, but it was iconic. And I'm going to tell you about that tomorrow in our Zoom call, as well as just teach you a whole bunch of stuff about the Liberatrix and about the deep feminine tomorrow. And if you can't be there live, I will be sending out the replay. I highly recommend being there live. But if you really can't be there, I'll send out the replay to everyone. It's all good. So even if you can be there live, but you just want to watch it over and over again, which you might, you will have the replay. And then tomorrow I will also drop the Liberatrix, like becoming the deep feminine leader story into the Telegram group as well, just so that everything is all in one place. And then tomorrow, it's about meeting your Liberatrix, and that's going to be on Zoom. So I'll see you then, babes. Mwah.